they had a PayPal account and they would let me buy and sell Instagram accounts because I was building up like gym and fitness accounts to then sell people the scales. They would let me use their PayPal. So I would use their PayPal to like,
I'm sitting here dancing. I'm feeling that vibe.
The instrumental was on. I was freestyling. I'm from Houston, so in the South.
Let's go. Hey, welcome to another episode of Entrepreneurship Exposed with your guy Beez, where we expose everything related to entrepreneurship, every strategy that you want to get into, everything that you should be considering, with a twist of business acquisitions. And today is an episode that's been long in coming. Right? My guy, I was supposed to have on here for a long time ago, and schedules and all that stuff. But we got him here today.
Yeah.
My guy, Justin Phillips.
There we
my
go.
Guy who been killing the game, doing his things, built an e-commerce empire. Justin, welcome to Entrepreneurship Exposed, brother.
Oh man, thank you so much for the energy, for the introduction. I'm ready to give as much value to the people as possible. It's been long overdue, but I'm excited to finally be here.
Let's get it, bro. Yes, definitely long overdue, man. It's a pleasure to have you on here. So much we could talk about, but first, let's give the people a little bit more history on who you are, what you do, and how you came to it.
Okay, cool. So my name is Justin Phillips, known as Justin P. I own a brand called Support Black Colleges with my business partner, Corey Arvinger, and we make merchandise for HBCU students, people that are going to HBCU students, current attendees, and alumni. And we do that because we wanted to bring awareness and build a empire around HBCUs. And that's the motto, man. And now, since we've had a little success in the e-commerce space, we now teach people how to get into the e-commerce space as well.
Nice, bro. So what I've seen is that you guys don't just have like a clothing company. You don't just have a t-shirt company. You guys have a true e-commerce empire. And I love that you really narrowed down and focused on that niche and said, listen, we're focusing on supporting Black colleges. Right. Yes, that happens to be the name on the brand and all of that, but we're actually doing the work of supporting Black colleges. Yeah. Your content is about that. It's like about people who are, you'll post something of someone who's afraid to go to a HBCU because they think they have a misconception of it, right. And then you're showing what it really is like. I just love that approach, man, and I love that y'all are so focused on it. Has that really helped you to explode your growth and scale in the company?
Yeah, I would say so, because the way that we kind of think about it is that we are a media company first, and then we are a clothing brand afterwards. So we operate our social media channels and media channels as if we are trying to educate our target demographic, entertain our target demographic. And once we do so, we kind of gather them in a community and we call it like a hub. And once we have their attention, you know that where attention goes, money flows. So we gather the attention of our target demographic by entertaining and educating them. And then we sell them stuff that they like and that they're attracted to.
Nice. Okay. So I got to start off by saying how I started as a full-time entrepreneur.
Please.
Right? Because I was in corporate America. I worked at Microsoft. I worked at Accenture. I was doing some pretty cool things for corporate America, but I still felt like, there's got to be more.
Yeah.
So one day, because I couldn't get time off to go to my son's basketball game, I was like, forget this. I'm done. I got to beg you to be able to spend time with my kids. I can't do it. So I left a great job at Microsoft and started as a full-time entrepreneur.
Right.
I had no clue what I was going to do. Wow. No idea what industry to get into. I don't believe that the amount of mentors and information that there is right now, I don't believe it was really there for me at the time as much. So I had to kind of fumble my way through.
Yep.
And I started with private labeling on Amazon FBA.
Crazy.
not apparel.
Right.
I was doing, I think my first product was this Hey guys, okay, before we get to the episode, I just had to take a moment to say thank you to everybody that's been supporting Entrepreneurship Exposed. Your guy Beez here, and just having a great time having these conversations, showing you every aspect of entrepreneurship, because there's a lot of things out there that are, seems like all the glitz and the glam, everything looks good, but we want to make sure that you see some of the obstacles. Not things that will stop you, but just things that you need to know before you dive into this world of entrepreneurship. If you like this content, you like these videos, please just do me a favor and just make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you click the like button, comment on it, just tell me what you feel about each topic so I'll know how to adjust for other topics and have other guests on. And make sure that you hit the notification bell, because YouTube's kind of weird like that, and if you don't have that notification bell, even if you're subscribed to me, you won't see a lot of my content. All right, so if you would like to support us, that would be the best way. Thank you so much. Now back to the episode. I think my first product was this, what was the first product? Was it it was either the blades, like saw blades.
Oh, wow.
Like power saws and stuff. Wow. I used to sell the, I can't even remember what they're called, but it's a certain type of material, but the blades that you would put in it for oscillating saw blades. That's what I used to sell, right? Wow. And then I think my second product was like a mason jar light thing that people would hang in their back. Random stuff, bro. I didn't even know what half of them things was,
That's dope.
But it worked out. I was able to build a brand, two brands that I was able to sell. And it wasn't because of my knowledge in e-commerce. It was because of my knowledge in process systems and people in order to create something that someone else could take and it's running for them. Right. So that's my exposure to e-commerce. That's what I did. I could tell you a lot about Amazon and how to navigate Amazon. But what approach did y'all take? Did you say, hey, we're going to start with a Shopify site? Or did you start out of the back of your trunk? Or how did you get going?
Yeah, so very interesting. The way that the brand started in 2012, and actually Corey and his cousin started it together. His cousin's name's Kai. He's a really good designer, and Corey told him, hey, I want to make some stuff for college students, because I was actually I was on the e-board for the Texas club, and Corey was he was the president of the North Carolina club. So we were able to get merchandise made for our clubs, because that's what HBCUs do. You got merch for your different clubs and whatnot. So he said, hey, my cousin's a dope designer. I'm gonna get him to design some stuff for the North Carolina club. And then I'm like, hey, I'm on the e-board for the Texas club. Let's get him to design something for the Texas club. Then he did the DC, Maryland, and Virginia club, and a few at the Georgia club, I believe. And then everyone was like, yo, having all of this club stuff is dope, but we want to see something that's like for our particular school, like Howard and FAMU and whatever. And we want something that represents all those schools. So we were like, all right, well then we need to, Corey was like, hey, I want to make something called Support Black Colleges. His cousin then designed it, and then they started doing their thing. So I was just a friend of Corey when we were in school. So I was in the first photo shoot. You scroll all the way down to Support Black College's first post is a picture of me. And I made a Twitter for them, because that was my background. It was like digital marketing and learning online and drop shipping and things of that nature. So they did their thing for like 6 years, but they were kind of on and off with it. And then one day Corey called me, it was 2018 or maybe 2017, 2018. And he was like, hey man, me and my cousin aren't really like on the same page with this thing. I really don't want to give up on it. Come move to Atlanta, pick it up with me, and let's do it. And at that time I was working a job, but I just was, man, a terrible employee, man. So like, my first job I ever had, I've only ever had 3 jobs in my life. The first one I had was at Shoe Carnival, and they would tell me, hey, Justin, sweep the store. And I would make sweeping take from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that was the testament of like how bad of an employee I was. Yeah. And then I had a job at a startup company that one of my friends started up. He actually just passed away, so rest in peace to him. And then after that, I went to go get a job at a scale company, like a weight scale you stand on, and they were actually selling on Amazon. So I was working that job, and I worked there for probably like 6 to 8 months. I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 people. And that was because I was young. I wanted to save some money. I had my own place, but then my cousins were like, yo, we don't have anywhere to go. Do you mind if we stay with you? And I'm like, cool, I'm gonna save some money on rent or whatever. So my job's paying me $1,000 a month, $1,000 a week. And I'm stacking up cash because I'm only paying like $200 for rent. So I have $26,000 when Corey calls me and says, hey, let's pick Support Black College up. Let's take it seriously. And I'm like, cool. I had done a little, I call it like janky business with my job. They had a PayPal account and they would let me buy and sell Instagram accounts because I was building up like gym and fitness accounts to then sell people the scales. And they would let me use their PayPal. So I would use their PayPal to like buy a course from Ty Lopez and then buy a course from Anthony and Adrian Morrison. And I was educating myself because I was doing a job for them. But then I started to realize when I educated myself, it's like, I'm doing this for them. I could do this for myself. So it started to give me that kind of distance away from, of the job and, just the job in general. So I started doing remote working before like remote working was very, very popular. And I told them, I was like, look, I want to work from home like one day out the week, but I'll still do the same amount of work that I'm going to do. And it's quantifiable, and I promise you. Then that turned into 2 days a week, then 3 days a week, 4 days a week, then 5 days a week, all the way up until Corey was like, yo, come down. You got nothing to lose. You got no kids. Just come down to Atlanta with me. Let's pick this thing up. And I told him, I remember I said, man, if we do this thing right, we probably can max out at about $100,000 a month. That would be dope. And I think that's as far as we can go, bro, but let's just try it out. And I ended up moving to Atlanta, getting started with Corey. And then he already had a Shopify account. So we picked up on Shopify, but I took all of the knowledge that I had from trying out drop shipping, trying out a social media marketing agency, doing Facebook ads for the company that I was working for. And immediately once we applied it to the business, it started to take off almost instantly. And then that was 4 years ago. And now that's where we are.
Wow. That's a complex story, kind of. It's like a lot of moving parts. It's so, but you know what? People often say, there's a meme that says something like, X amount of failures, X amount of years, some other stuff, and one success, and people will think you're an overnight success, something like that. Like they don't see all of the failures and everything that it really came. I didn't even know that Corey was doing it for 6 years before you came on board, really. And
I came in 2018.
That's insane. That's awesome, though. That's awesome. It's a true testament to, as an entrepreneur, how you keep focused, keep making things happen, and don't give up. I always say to people too that often, I don't know about you, but me, I was broke as hell in college.
Yeah.
And but it was okay. I went to college for 5 years, and I was okay being broke for the chance to make a middle class income.
Yeah, crazy.
Right? That's in essence what you're doing. You're
right.
broke. I never complained. It was fine for the chance to make a middle class income. But then when people start a business, 3 months in, they're like, I ain't making no money. I can't do this. Yeah. So y'all really weathered the storm like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and you're bringing up some good points, because it was so funny, because I found a way to make money in college. We used to throw parties. So me and Corey, we actually met because he was throwing a party. I was a freshman, he was a sophomore, and I was throwing parties already back home in Houston. And when I got to school, I was like, I want to do this here, just on a bigger level. So I went to a party and Corey happened to be throwing it. And I sat down on the curb and I just watched who's taking the money. How do they do it here? And do they go through the back door? Do they go to the front for the house party? Who's the DJ? All of this stuff. And Corey walked up to me. He was like, yo, bro, like, it's freshman week. Like, you a freshman? I'm like, yeah. He was like, yeah, but like, why ain't you partying? Like, what's up with you? I'm like, nah, I'm just trying to like, study, like see what's going on. I do parties back home, this and that. And then he was like, hey, bro, I like that, bro. That's what's up. Like, come into the party, you good, whatever. And then that's when we became friends. So, but it's funny though that you bring up like college and things of that nature, because now that I look back on it, we started to make a lot of money during college. I was probably making like 5 to 15K a month just from throwing parties when I was like 17, 18 years old. So we were making good money, and I tried to drop out every single year, like every semester. My mom was like, no, you're the first one in our family to go to college. You're going to be the first one to finish, whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just do it as a service to her. But me and her always go back and forth on it, because I always like argue is like, it's almost easier to start a 6-figure business than it is to like get a 6-figure job after you leave college. And typically when you're at college, you're getting taught by someone that does not run a business on how to run a business. And another thing is like with all of these things that are going so fast, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok, etc., you can't even update the textbooks fast enough to educate me on these things because they move so fast. So it's crazy because people will say, I won't spend $1,000, $5,000, even $10,000 on a course, a mentor, or group coaching program, but you'll spend, Howard, $120,000 with no guarantee of getting the result. And I just find it interesting. But obviously, if you go in for doctor, lawyer, etc., makes sense. But if you're going for business, you learn business by doing business, not by reading books. So,
bro, listen. So my son just started college, right?
Okay.
And obviously he was like, well, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I want to go to college. I was like, yeah, well then go. I loved my college years. I enjoyed it. But make sure you're using it for what it's really used, what it should be used for.
Yeah.
It is not going to teach you how to run a multi-million-dollar company. It's not going to teach you how to start it, build it, acquire it, nothing.
Right.
It's going to teach you more the ability to learn. Yeah. And you really need to use your networking skills in college because that's going to be critical for you going forward.
1,000.
So I'm all for it. Whoever want to go do your thing, but know what you're going for and use it for the appropriate purpose.
Yeah, the network is vital, and you got to realize, in my opinion, that when you go to school, you still have to learn outside of the classroom. So most of the stuff that I learned and applied to the business that I was running in college was from YouTube and other places outside of college. And I really didn't learn too much, but the relationships that I cultivated in college were invaluable. So I don't take it back, but I always make that joke with my mom. It's like, I ain't gonna lie, like, if you would have gave me $120,000 rather than give it to them, I promise you wouldn't have even had to like worry about it.
But, exactly. So okay, wait, we gotta take a step back before we go deeper into the e-commerce empire. Okay. You made a mention a little while ago. I want to make sure I got this clear. You said that when you were working in that job, they were allowing you to buy Instagram accounts?
Yeah. So my background is kind of like I call it like the black market of social media. So I've done stuff like buying and selling Instagram handles because like one word handles are extremely valuable. So like I've had the account @Nation, @Beneath, at like all types of accounts. And then but even behind that, I've seen deals go where labels of like music industry labels will pay 16 and 17-year-olds because they own these huge accounts to get traffic towards their new artists. So I was there when Bryson Tiller was getting his campaigns pushed and just a bunch of different people. So I was able to see that. So when I went into the job market and I was trying to get a job, I was like, hey, look, you don't know what's going on for real as far as marketing, because this is what's happening. There's things called like tweet decks where people with hundreds of thousands of followers all get together and they retweet one tweet to make it go viral on purpose. These things are happening and you have no clue. So I told them a little bit about the black market side, and then they were like, do that for us. And I was like, cool. And then they gave me a PayPal account to kind of operate in the black market. And then I told them it would be better for you to start your Instagram account with an audience that's already primed for what you're trying to sell. So let me go and buy a fitness-based account that already has a following. And then let's just continue putting content on there and then start selling our products through there. And they let me do that.
Okay. So in my community, one of the things that I teach is $0 traffic assets, right?
Okay.
And last year, beginning of the year, 2021, Apple came out with iOS 14, and then that kind of killed Facebook ads and IG ads because the targeting was harder since they were able to opt out of being tracked, right? So now it became more where if you're running Facebook ads, IG ads, you have to do a whole lot more of testing and whatnot of the specific attributes that you're targeting. And eventually, once you start getting it right, then you start scaling, but you have to spend a whole lot to do testing.
Yeah.
So what I started doing at the time, and what I've been teaching now too, is that it's not just about acquiring a business. You can acquire these $0 traffic assets. If you selling dog collars and dog products, and you go buy a TikTok account that's I love dogs and it has 1 million followers, you'd be surprised how cheap it is to buy it.
Yeah.
Now you have your ideal customer profile. That audience is there and it's yours, right? So now forget about spending money on Facebook ads. You getting your exact audience right there for you. So 1,000%. It's so crazy that you were doing that, man. That's you're already in the acquisition world.
There you go. And I didn't even know it. So back then, man, we was buying and selling accounts like crazy, like accounts, like Snapchat shout outs, like all types of stuff was going on. So yeah, you're right.
Okay, we're gonna have to have a separate conversation about this because so I did about maybe like 23, 22, 3, something like that last year in terms of accounts that I was able to, purchase. I had some sources that helped me. I guess he's doing the black hat stuff or whatever, but he was able to get them for me, and then I was able to just kind of buy and then sell it off to someone else that needed it. Yeah. That's a whole other discussion. But you excited me when I heard that. I was like, wait a minute, did he just say that he was doing that? Yeah. So that's what's up, bro. That's what's up. Okay. Let's keep going. All right, cool. Let's do it.
And we'll have another conversation, but there's still a lot that's going on there, even with the shout outs and arbitrage. Yes, we can talk about that later. But sure.
Yes, sir. Okay, so now let's get back to e-commerce, right? So now you're building up this brand. You had some capital that you were able to use. Right. And it's also funny. I'm sorry, I got to go back to this too. You said how you met Corey. Is kind of the same way you and I met, because you were like, we were in the same circles a little bit. I was hearing your name, saw you and Corey, blah, blah, blah. And then we were on Clubhouse and you came into one of the rooms and I was like, oh, I see Justin in here. Let me bring him up. And you were like, nah, I just wanted to take notes and learn from what you were saying. And I was like, nah, you got to come up here too. So it's kind of the same thing. I see that you're the type that's like, nah, I'm just trying to, take notes and learn and observe before I then get put things into action. Right. So that's definitely a very good quality attribute, and I must commend you on that because I saw it happen in person.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you. I think like one of the quotes that really hit me was like from an old philosopher, just basically saying like the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. And so now I kind of just act like that. I just think that it's a shame when people allow what they do know to keep them from what they don't know. So I am always willing to, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I'm here to learn no matter how successful I get. So
well done, my brother. That's my motto as well, because I'm Jamaican, so a Caribbean background, we're taught specific things in our culture, like credit is bad, for example.
Right.
Debt is bad. But you have to be willing to say, hold on, what else is out there? I need to learn. I need to get exposure to someone else who maybe has a different perspective and why, so that I can make a clear decision rather than just go off of what I was told by someone else. Right. So that's definitely key, bro.
Oh, and one thing I'll say about that before we go on is like, it's funny because after I started to realize that all of these things were not true, I started to question almost anything everyone told me, and not in a negative manner, but just because like, is that the perspective that I want to lend myself to thinking is true? So credit is bad. Don't save all your money. Don't use other people's money. Money don't grow on trees. Like all of these things. And I'm like, I don't choose to subscribe to those because they don't serve me very well. So I agree.
Well said. Exactly, my bro. Okay. Let's go, because we could talk about so much things and we haven't really gotten deeper into e-commerce, right? So what would you attribute to, y'all have created an e-commerce empire, right? What would you attribute as your main reasons for success in bringing it to that type of empire level?
Yeah, it was 4 things: paid ads, influencer marketing, content creation, and grassroots marketing. And then I think just the willingness to learn. I feel like those were the main 5 things.
Nice. And you guys didn't have your products on Amazon? Was it always strictly like Shopify, your own site? And such?
We were always direct to consumer. We're kind of working on getting on Amazon as well, but it was pretty much all direct to consumer up until recently.
And that's the better bet. The benefit of Amazon is that it has audience already, so you could tap into it when you're starting off. But if you already got the audience and then you built your audience in different ways using your social media, now you go direct to consumer and you're eliminating a lot of the fees and the red tape of Amazon.
Yeah, especially because like it's funny because I have a friend that teaches Amazon, and then I teach obviously Shopify. So his ads are always like, "The world doesn't need another clothing brand," and then my ads are always like, you know, the Amazon guys will tell you everything except for the fact that they're not getting their emails and phone numbers for their customers, so they're not really building a business. So it's just funny.
Ooh, shots fired.
we send them back and forth to each other. We're both killing it in the coaching space, so we have fun with it. But yeah, you're right. There's pros and cons to both sides.
Okay, so I'm gonna start throwing ads at you, and I'm gonna be like, "Why build an e-commerce empire when you can buy one?"
Yeah, there you go. That's a fact.
It's a fact, bro. And listen, we keep learning. There's new things. Listen, I want to give you a book recommendation. This is a required reading in my BBI, in my community. And it is by a guy named Reginald Lewis. It's called Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?
I've heard of it but never read it.
I promise you, bro, read that book. It is going to change your life. It kind of opened my eyes to where I am now with the path to creating true wealth, right? Warren Buffett, they asked him, in an interview recently, they were like, if you lost all your wealth, what would you do to get it back? And he said, oh, no questions. I'd have to buy businesses, and especially buying smaller businesses that I could then scale and then sell at a higher multiple later. Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, damn, Warren Buffett says it, then I must be on the right path, right. And on top of that, that book is the guy who wrote it. His name is Reginald Lewis. Is the first Black billionaire in modern times. I'm not talking like Mansa Musa and whatnot.
Yeah.
But nobody knows about him.
Yeah, no.
And he made his millions from leverage buyouts and buying businesses. We need to know this information.
Yeah, that's good stuff. No, I've been thinking about it a lot because I've even been seeing in my community where, we coach people how to get into our space. They come in, they do really well. And then I'm like, man, if I just put my hands on that business, I know that it would do multiple 7 figures very quickly. So I'm even thinking about it now, like finding out a way to streamline that process of how do I go from someone does not know me, I teach them, they get to a cap to where they can't execute or don't know what else to do. And then I'm like, all right, let's acquire or get a minority share or whatever it may be and grow that business with the consumer. So I'm thinking about it now.
Nice, bro. And that is the way that the truly wealthy scale their business. I mean, you probably know and have heard me talk about process, systems, and people. Yes, that's critical. That's across the board. But the way that the wealthy scale is not by, I got to build a new marketing team, is let me acquire this marketing firm and roll it into my existing company. Right. And now I've scaled, 10x just from that one acquisition.
And I think that a lot of people, even in our culture as well, they think that you got to like make $1 billion to be a billionaire, and you really just need to own something worth $1 billion. So,
bro, you're already jumping the gun because we're going to talk about AUM in a little bit, assets under management, right? And that's exactly part of a challenge I'm gonna explain to you in a little bit. Okay. But so there we go. That's it. People need to realize that you don't have to be making $1 billion. You don't have to be a billionaire yourself in order to have $1 billion assets under management, right? And overall, the key is you don't have to be super rich to acquire a company either. Yeah. It's actually harder to acquire a company that's like $50,000, selling for $50,000, than it is for one that's selling for $50 million. And most people will be like, that's crazy. No, you're just saying that if you have the money. No, that again, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And leveraged buyouts allow you to acquire a company without money coming out of your pocket. Through a leveraged buyout, you're able to put debt in the business that you're trying to acquire in order for you to acquire it. So it's paying for you to acquire it, and you're just buying the cash flow.
I see. So look, I'm gonna get my pen and my pad out right now because I'm educated in general, and I know a bit about the space, but it sounds like I'm about to learn a lot. So I'm happy for it.
Let's go, brother. Yeah, I could go into full teaching mode, but we hear about you right now. Before we go though, I want to ask, what can I do for my brand to be like a version of support Black colleges. So I support Black colleges in buying businesses. Something like that.
Maybe we gotta do our own separate coaching call and then a collaboration or something.
There we go, bro. We gonna make it happen. But the same way that y'all have that message, that purpose of the specific niche of supporting Black colleges in multiple ways, not just the brand, but the different things that you guys are doing. That's the same passion that I have about showing. Yes, I focus heavily on the Black community, but to be honest, it's not about race. I want to show the average person how to have a path to $1 billion, right? Because it's whether you white, Black, whatever it is, the average person is not the super wealthy. Even the rich are not the super wealthy. There's a big disparity between us who are making a couple $1 million compared to the Jeff Bezoses of the world and whatnot. So that having that mission is definitely critical, I believe, to your success, because you're focused on exactly where you want to go, and all of your activities are going to surround that.
Right. I agree. Okay. And I got some questions for you, but we'll hold that.
Yeah, please.
Oh, no, I was just going to say two things. One was, it seems like there may have to be some convincing to get a business owner to not have any buyout or liquid capital when you're doing a business deal with them. So if you want to dispel that limiting belief for me, be my guest. For sure.
So remember, I said no money coming out of your pocket.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that the seller is not getting paid. It's just not coming from you. It's the same concept that you already know as OPM when it comes to credit, right? So it's always better to use OPM. You're going to maybe get a 0% interest credit card, and then you're going to use that to go buy some asset that's cash flowing, and you have 12 months to pay this off before interest hits. So now you're paying it back with the cash flow from the asset that you bought. And once it's paid back, you still got the cash flow coming in regularly. It's the same concept. So what we're doing is we're structuring the deal in ways that other things and other people are paying out that seller instead of me just going in my pocket. Or because the traditional way of acquiring a business is you come up with 20% and then you go through the SBA 7A loan, right? But even when you do that, you're PGing it. So it's still technically coming out of your pocket because you're still responsible for it.
Right.
It's still OPM in the traditional sense, but not in the newer sense of what we're doing with leverage buyouts.
Right. So that's dope. And I'm sure that, we'll have an offline conversation. You'll help me out with that. And the last thing I wanted to ask too, because I don't want to carry any limiting beliefs with me, is I'm thinking that, all right, perfect. I got 5 to 10 students right now that their businesses are dope. They just need a little touch on it. I'm thinking of like, man, in my head, I really want to have streamlined focus towards my personal brand, the coaching business, et cetera, that I'm running. How am I going to have the time to be able to put my hands on all of these things at once to make sure that they truly can scale? Because it feels like they may need, even if it's just time with strategy, like a weekly call with the current founder or something along those lines. I don't know how that would look.
So 2 things I would say. Now, there's multiple ways of acquiring a business, right? I met this guy. I had to shut down one of my companies earlier this year because it was in supply chain management, and supply chain crisis kind of caused all types of problems.
Right.
Now, at that time, I met someone who was like a bankruptcy consultant or something, and he wasn't an attorney. He was just like a bankruptcy consultant, and he was saying that how he was buying businesses that were going through bankruptcy, so they were failing and things, and then he would get them at a discount to kind of like real estate, fix and flip and sell, right? I don't do that. He was successful in it, but I don't do it. Why? Because when I buy a business on day one, I want it to already have cash flow. So I'm only buying businesses that are older than 5 years. Most of them are 20 plus years because I focus heavily on baby boomers, the retirees. They're all retiring this decade. So, they've had their businesses for ages and that type of thing. So immediately I get revenue. And now I know how much revenue I have in there to hire the right managers or to promote a key employee that's already in it and been there for years to be a manager, right? I had to give you that background because in what you're saying, you would be going to your students who you've helped to build up and they got it up to a certain level, but they just don't know how to take it to that next step, next phase. Would you? I don't like those types of acquisitions. It makes sense for your community because of how you're already positioned with them, but I don't like those type of acquisitions because it's not up to the level where I want it to be before I acquire it.
Okay, dope. So what's the alternative then? I know that what you just said, but is there a certain type of business that you're looking at? I heard a few qualifications: 5 years or plus, baby boomer, ran and operated, etc. Is there anything else I missed?
So here's the thing. There's statistics that show that more than 80% of businesses shut down in 5 years. They don't make it out of the 5-year gap, right? And less than 5% of businesses even make it to 7 figures in revenue, right?
Wow.
So there goes my acquisition criteria. It got to be older than 5 years, and it already had to be in the 7-figure realm.
Okay.
Now I have a very specific range. Like, I look at some $10 million companies and acquisitions as well, but I prefer 2 million, 2.5 with an EBITDA of over 500,000, because those are in the right sweet spot for me to come in, acquire, and then scale and then sell later for a higher multiple. Right, just like the Warren Buffett method. Right. So those are the main things that I'm looking for. Is it got to be over 5 years? But to be honest, I was just about to do this. Well, let me not say what it is, but a type of company that's 102 years old.
Wow.
It was founded in 1919, something like that.
Probably an insurance company. Those are the only companies lasting that long these days.
Nope. It's just a regular old. And there goes the last part of what I like to acquire. It's a regular old boring company. Oh, okay. When I say boring, I can't say what it is just yet. I'm still under confidentiality agreement and stuff. But let's say it's I don't know, furniture. I'm sitting on a couch, so it's a couch manufacturer, right? That couch manufacturer is nothing fancy. It's no billion-dollar company or nothing, but it has a strong brand in the state and city and state that it is in, and has been in for the last 100 years, right? Yeah. Steady employees, they're unionized, so you have, there's pros and cons of being in a union. But when you're acquiring a business, the union is a beneficial thing because the union is going to supply you with all the employees you need. Right. So I like boring, essential businesses, right? And turnkey. Yeah. I'm not buying a job. I don't want to work. You know what I'm saying? I'm on the investor level where I'm more quarterly earnings report, strategic direction, but I got the operator, my COO, my operations manager, my whatever. I have them in there to execute on the day-to-day stuff. Dope. That's what's up, bro. All right. So car washes, laundromats, those things are super boring. And I don't need to. It's not like if I acquire a laundromat that I need a whole C-suite team and blah, blah, blah. No, I don't. That's a simple manager to be in place. You know what I'm saying?
You don't even really need like any crazy marketing. Like you don't need TikTok content and Instagram and all this stuff. It's just.
Now, if I wanted to, because most likely the current baby boomer owner had absolutely no social media presence or whatever. And let's say it's a car wash. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go a little bit extra on the car wash, on the social media. Now we're getting all of our local customers to really know, hey, go to that car wash. So that's the benefit that we have. That's what's up. That's why it's one of the greatest wealth transfers happening in history, because all of those baby boomers that are going to be retiring and they don't know what to do with their businesses.
Well, there it is. Sound like I'm gonna be buying a little bit of cash flow in the next few years.
Yes, sir. but we gotta go back to you, because I know we're talking about the acquisitions, but. What is next for Support Black Colleges?
Oh man, I think it's just going to be a lot of partnerships, scaling up what we're already doing, and I would say a lot of collaborations that aren't expected. Some with some older companies, some with some older companies, some with some newer companies, and just some like household names, like some big household names, to where it's like, okay, they're like not playing around right now. Nice. So. I'd say that. I mean, we're just going to, like simple scales, fancy fails. So it's like doing what we do over and over and at a higher level. And that's it.
There you go. Okay, so this is a perfect time, since we're coming back to the e-commerce empire aspect. This is a perfect time to pop that bubble. Right? So we are going to pop e-commerce empires and what it really takes in order to create one, whether you're building or buying it.
Right.
How do we pop that? What is the pros? What are the pros of creating an e-commerce empire, the opportunities that exist in the industry, and the problems, of course? That's the most important one.
Yeah. So the pros of having an e-commerce business, I think that they have, if you do them right, they have a lot of enterprise value. So if you want to, you can exit them in the future. And if not, you can pass them down. And, you know, like even Uncle Warren says the same thing, is like the way that you become wealthy is by holding on to things that grow in value over time. So you have an opportunity there to hold on to something that grows in value over time. Another pro, it's a relatively fun business, especially if you know, can find a niche that you like to operate in. What else? What other pros are there? Great for relationship building. And I'd say the opportunities in the space right now, oh my God, they're all over the place. I mean, right now, TikTok is just murdering it for direct to consumer. There's a lot going on with Google right now too. And especially for like newcomers into the direct to consumer market, I always think that like TikTok and Google is a great place for them to start, especially Google, because, you know, pay per click, you know, you're going on these different keywords and showing your product, and you're not paying for anything unless someone clicks and goes directly to your website. So you can definitely save a lot of money there. But I mean, you're talking about opportunities, print on demand, drop shipping, branded drop shipping, doing it yourself and starting a brand out of your garage if all you got is $100 in a heat press. There's so many ways, bro. And I'd say, and what's the last P?
Well, before you get to the problems, so in opportunities, I'd also say I believe that e-commerce is one of the easiest to scale to significant numbers. Yeah. Right? Meaning if you do it right, if you have the right product, if you know your customers and everything, if you do the right things, you would think it's just maybe a 6-figure business. No, you have the ability to get to 7, 8, 9 figures.
Yeah, and with a relatively small team, right. So I mean, you're talking about like, especially with the opportunity with TikTok and TikTok organic and TikTok ads right now, it's just so cheap. So, you know, you can start a brand today and post on TikTok. I've seen it happen multiple times over. Somebody post on their TikTok, maybe two, 3 times, and then on the 4th time go viral, 70K in sales in a weekend, 90K in sales in a weekend. I saw one kid, it was crazy. He posted 12 videos. All 12 of them went decently viral. He did $4 million in sales his first month in business. It was insane. So that's just the opportunity that's out there with TikTok organic, because it's not as mature of a platform as Facebook, Instagram, and the others. So they're giving organic traffic out to the people that are using it. And then once you see what's working on TikTok, you just put a little money behind it and paid ads. You put a little fuel on the fire. And like you said, if you got a good product and you find a product market fit and you pour gas on that thing, you can go up to 7, 8 figures with a relatively small team.
Nice. Ooh, man, you got me having some ideas for Black Friday and all that.
There you go.
Let's get it. So now, of course, we got to get into the problems when it comes to e-commerce.
Man, the problems are depending on the business model that you have. Typically, what I see entrepreneurs do is they build a business around their lifestyle and not a lifestyle around their business. So they end up getting too entrenched in the business and they never get to work on it. They always are in it. That's just a bad place to be. And it's very easy to fall in that trap into e-commerce, especially if you don't have someone guiding you out of that trap. There's a lot of problems around like vanity metrics as well. You see huge screenshots of Shopify, and people doing a lot, but you know, the margins sometimes aren't there, typically on certain products and whatnot. So you may do $1 million or $10 million, but if you got 10%力, then it looks good on paper, but you didn't do too well. There's, you know, I would say that in general, it is a decent amount of work, even though it's not the hardest work. And if you know what you're doing, then you can do really well. But, you know, we're talking about paid ads, email marketing, text marketing, influencer marketing, organic traffic on all platforms, etc. So there's a lot of different things to learn. But once you learn all of them, I call it like the bridge to money. Once you learn all of them, you exponentially grow and make a ton. So there's a lot of skills to learn, but once you do piece them all together, you can do really well. And, like we talked about Amazon, Amazon, you can jump right in, and you can probably make some sales, especially if you're selling somebody else's stuff, but you can't sell that business for much. But the opportunity on e-commerce is a little bit different. So I'd say those are some of the problems that I see.
I'd add that, so if you are starting on Amazon and if you're private labeling and you're building the brand and all of that, it could work, but it does take longer. What you just described, if somebody doesn't use strategies like TikTok organic and TikTok paid, it's a lot harder for them to scale in the beginning, especially on Amazon, where they have these things, I don't even know if they still call it the same, but it's like their brand registry. Okay. And you have to have your trademark.
Yep.
And then if you have your trademark, you get into their brand registry program, and then they protect your listing. If not, you get a bunch of hijackers on your listing. And it takes minimum 6 to 8 months to get your trademark. Yeah. So if you're trying to build a brand and only focus on Amazon, you got 6 to 8 months minimum before you could really blow it up and have, be protected and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, I saw that when we were jumping on Amazon. They're like, what's your trademark information, etc., so we can protect the listing. So dope that they do that. But yeah, you're right. Like,
and it's like the wild, wild west with Amazon sometimes, man. It's like, 1 second they change up rules and you're like, oh, everything is ruined.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I just don't enjoy putting the livelihood of my business in the hands of someone that can change it at any given time. Shareholders and stockholders are mad. We got to make the ads cost more, or we got to do X, Y, and Z, or you can't have your customers' emails, or the algorithms change. We're dropping the amount of exposure on all listings unless you pay. It's just too much that can be there, rather than if you control your audience, you do what you want with, and that's definitely a pro in e-commerce.
Definitely. Okay, so I need at least one major gem, one major tip for the people, and I want to ask it around influencer marketing, right? Okay, what tip, gem would you say around influencer marketing to be successful?
Yeah, so I'll say 2, just to over deliver for the community. One tip is that I always say is that most people focus on the influencers, but I do something that we call indirect influencer marketing. So what we do is, and what I realized is that most of these influencers don't even run their day-to-day life. So I was trying my hardest to get in front of Chris Paul and LeBron James and Jason Tatum and all these basketball players, etc. And then one day I realized, I was like, I wonder who's Chris Paul's stylist. And I looked up who the stylist was, and it was this young lady named Courtney Mays. And I reached out to her. She happened to have already purchased something, so we just sent some more stuff to her address, and then she was able to get it in the hands of Chris Paul. But that wasn't her only client. So once I realized that, I started to build a network of stylists, and the same person that styles Kevin Hart styles who else? Jason Tatum and a few other, like Devin Booker and a bunch of NBA players. So I was like, okay, I need to do more indirect influencer marketing, but it doesn't stop with the stylist. You can reach out to the stylist, the videographer, the manager, the editor, the whatever, and if you can get into, get into the hands of that person and maybe even give them something for helping you out, then you can get a lot of influencers, and that's how we were able to get a lot of influencers at one time. And the only other thing I'd say is typically the script that I use when I'm reaching out to influencers is I say, hey, are you offering any paid promotional opportunities right now? Mm-hmm. And most people might think like, hey, Justin, I've got a lot of money. And I completely get it. I understand. So pay for influencers. But what ends up happening is if you're upkeeping your content and you're making dope stuff, what I see happen 9 times out of 10, they respond back and say, hey, your stuff's dope. Go ahead and send me something I'd love to support. So it just turns into a volume game. And that's where people kind of get things messed up. They think if I reach out to 10 influencers in a week and I don't get any responses, I failed. But in reality, we reach out to like 10 to 14 influencers an hour. So we're reaching out to thousands of influencers a month, and we get one. But if one is Chris Paul, then your business has changed forever.
Similar approach into how I find businesses to acquire. A lot of people be like, oh, well, I tried and that one didn't work. I'm like, one? Like, you know how many I speak to that don't end up being acquired? But it's fine, because once I get one, and then once I get two, and then once I get three, it's so much worth it. So
there you go.
Yeah, I love your tips with that, bro. Now, would you say it's better to focus on, I love your indirect influencer strategy, but would you say it's better to focus on large community influencers, like have a large audience, or a bunch of micro influencers, get a bunch of them?
Yeah, no, that debate is a great one to have. I think it depends on the person's circumstance that they're in business. So if you are someone that might have a little extra capital to use and you already have like a growing brand, it may be easier for you to get mass market influencers to help you out there. But if you're someone that's just starting out, it's probably a little bit easier to start with those micro influencers to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. So I'd say it depends on the circumstance. But if I had to choose one in particular, I probably would choose mass market big influencers, but then I would pay the smaller influencers to make content for me that I use to run ads with.
Nice. I like that, bro. Okay. Well, so I got two last things to tell you, right? First is I'm joining your overall mission of supporting Black colleges, but I'm taking it a little bit further, right? Okay. We talk about Black Friday. I was never a fan of Black Friday. I felt people were just going crazy. I thought it was, people was kicking others down just to get a sale. And instead of focusing on making your money work for you and buying assets that are going to cash flow, people just say, hey, I got to get that new iPhone. Right. I got to get this, whatever, right? So I wanted to turn Black Friday into more like support Black on Friday type of thing. Right. So now it's, hey, Black Friday is about buying Black. It's about supporting Black colleges. It's about support, whatever it may be. Is I want to empower that term of Black Friday rather than it just be a all crazy,
consumer holiday. Right.
Consumer holiday. Yeah.
Right.
So will you help to support that Black Friday as a powerful thing with supporting Black colleges and more?
Hey, you got me. You got me on your side, brother.
There we go. Appreciate that, bro. So y'all heard it here first. We turning Black Friday into a whole new thing.
There we go.
We're gonna take it to the next level. And the last thing I got for you, I have a challenge which I alluded to earlier. This challenge is different. This ain't no Tide Pods challenge or nothing like that. Now it's called the $1 Trillion Table Challenge. There we go. $1 Trillion Table Challenge. This is where by the end of this decade, I want to sit in a room at a table with other people that look like us, and we have $1 trillion AUM, assets under management. Right. And that alludes to what you were saying before. It's not about $1 trillion in our pocket. It means we got a portfolio of businesses that are equaling to however much billions. Real estate equaling to however much billions. Financial market, our stocks, our crypto, whatever it may be, that whole portfolio of AUM, that's a different metric that we got to have. Will you be at that table?
Oh, yeah. Not only will I be at the table, I'll be the first at the table. And I'll be setting the table, bringing plates to it, and dining on top of it as well.
There we go. That's what I love to hear, man. Let's get it. We changing the game. We changing the narrative. We changing the conversation so we can help change people's situation.
There you go. Right?
So I appreciate you, brother. Listen, I could keep this going all day, all night, but I just looked at the time. I was like, damn, we've been talking that long already.
It didn't even feel like it, man. It didn't even feel like it.
Justin, tell the people how they could reach you. How's the best way to help support your cause and support your brand?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Instagram at Justin P. My TikTok is ecom Justin P, as well as my Twitter. And the brand is Support Black College with no S on all social media.
There we go. We will drop that down in the description so that you guys can get it and get in touch with Justin and his amazing empire that he and Corey have built up. My brother, thank you so much for, first of all, coming on here. Thank you for being you, being genuine. Thank you for supporting Black colleges, for all that y'all are doing, man. Keep up the amazing work. And I look forward to, working with you guys, partnering in any way I can help and any way that we can uplift the community.
1000%, brother. You already know where I'm at. I'm not hard to find.
Let's get it. All right, stay tuned. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit in backstage once we get off. But everybody, y'all already know what to do. This has been another episode of Entrepreneurship Exposed with your guy Beez, and we have exposed e-commerce empires with my guy Justin Phillips. So make sure that y'all like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure that you are subscribed on every podcast platform so that you don't miss amazing content like this. And I will see y'all on the next episode. Let's go.